Did you give all of these things from the
No. Yeah. We have something like that, but I feel like it looks different.
How are you, Jim?
Thanks.
We
don't have any other. Just two. And then these were the. Okay. There you go, Mr. You're very welcome. Thank you very much.
There was another report too, wasn't there? Group 5?
Sorry, say that again.
I thought Group 5 had said, I thought there's something in the back of Group 5 as well. Then you,
Oh, this might be different.
And then this is.
I'm confused now. These look the same.
This is just general.
Yeah, this is the same.
This isn't
Oh, okay.
specific to us, but it's.
those are the agenda.
Do you have that? You have this,
Yeah.
that one? Yeah, that's
other. I will do my best, but I will probably.
Pronounce it as 5 or
Oh, no. That's not my strong. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We just found the one, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Can I eat that one? Oh, this is here.
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah.
I'd love to see you and for your interest.
You don't have to.
Okay, I'll call this meeting to order. And frankly, there should be a pledge of allegiance and roll call. So we'll go with the pledge of allegiance and roll call.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And a roll call, please.
I could only do the roll call of who's on the board, not on the committee. I don't have all the names.
They were in the last report, but they're here, so we can go through them one by one.
Okay, Supervisor Hewitt?
Here.
Trustee Robinson?
Here.
Trustee Page?
Here.
Trustee Geis?
Present.
If you're on the committee, if you wouldn't mind saying your name.
David Rooney, ROONEY.
Mayor Goldenberg.
And Reno.
Mayor.
See the right. I'm sorry, you're waiting. You guys can just say it.
Mary Ann Vasquez.
Thank you.
Jerry Galloway.
Two Z's, B and C. Julie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, then we'll go to public comment and online. I did not have any, but I'm just gonna double check that nobody came in. Okay, no public comment on here. Then for public comment.
So this comment is only about the Decennial meeting, I assume. Okay. All right, my name is Sarah Goldenberg, and I'm on the committee with Barry and Joanne Wright. And we are going through and trying to do the best we can with not a lot of direction, and we are under the gun. I just want to make sure that we have clear instructions moving forward as a group. And I was told that we are under the auspices of the Open Meetings Act, so that we should not be meeting more than 2 people without opening up the meetings to the public, which would be my understanding if we are subject to the Open Meetings Act. So my understanding is all the meetings that Barry, Joanne, and I have had up to this point would then be in violation of the Open Meetings Act. So I want to know how we can then rectify this moving forward to ensure that we are not violating any more rules. And just again, this has been a great experience. I think this idea that the governor had is a great step in the right direction for all of the entities of government. Thank you.
Thank you, and we didn't have any others. And to be clear, it's 3 total. So 3 people meeting is all good. That's why all the teams were teams of 3.
Okay.
So not you all are doing just fine with meeting as a threesome. Okay then. And I've heard a whole lot of discussion, as you've seen, that we would ideally try to move to the September meeting, being when we're concluding it, as they're due in November. So then we have the discussion about the survey for those who attended the 2nd meeting, and if the clerk wants to read that.
Sorry, but the minutes, we'll say that you're supposed to.
No, I don't believe that, but with the Decennial committee. Okay, so we had the first survey was secured a backup driver for the transfer. What has Lisle Township done well? Secured a backup driver for the transportation program, hired an assistant for the food pantry director, installed LED light fixtures in the food pantry, conducted a ComEd energy efficiency review to find ways to reduce energy consumption, negotiated a new waste and recycling material disposal contract for refuse disposal at the township supervisor building at a reduced cost, utilized 1 vendor to buy office supplies at a reduced cost through a joint purchasing agreement with other government agencies, bought a refrigerated truck for the food pantry to transport refrigerated and frozen foods at the required safe food temperatures, revised the purchasing policy to improve the purchasing process and ensure that purchases are properly reviewed and improved to control expenditures, revised job descriptions, and establish employee goals and objectives to better serve township residents, cross-train staff in the areas of transportation, scheduling, ride dispatching, and bus driving. And along the lines of what has township done well, same question. There was provides worthwhile services like the food pantry and rides for seniors. What inefficiencies did we identify and what are next steps? Manual tracking of employee work hours, requests for time off, paid time off, approval of employee payroll timesheets. Next step, use a timekeeping software application or develop a better timekeeping method. Manual processing and reporting of financial transactions. Next step, use a computer and cash receipt software application to record financial transactions and print receipts that will integrate with the accounts receivable software.
We're just getting a little concerned.
Wow. Manual processing and recording of manual inventory management of food pantry grocery items. Next step, complete setup of the inventory management software and begin using it daily, redacting personal and confidential information in FOIA records by the township attorney. Next step, train staff on how to redact information on FOIA records. Letting the residents know what services are available and offer other services requested by the residents was the second inefficiencies found. What can we do better or more efficiently? Educate residents about township services through added and improved methods of communication and direct community outreach. Add evening business hours for the food pantry. send staff to training, seminars, workshops, and conferences, update the list of township services booklet, evaluate services provided by other agencies to find service overlaps and gaps with township services, and use the findings to add or adjust township services accordingly. Train a staff person to serve as backup to the Director of General Assistance, digitize paper records to make them easily accessible and searchable, replace manual timekeeping and paid time off tracking method with a more efficient process, replace the manual transaction recording process with a computer-based system, accurately record food pantry inventory, train staff to redact information on FOIA documents. Better advertising and getting the word out to the residents about what services are available is the second piece that needs to be done better. Any suggestions for the committee? None was the first one. Yearly tracking of resident knowledge of services provided and finding new ways to get the information to the residents. What would you say should be our committee's recommendations regarding increased accountability and efficiency? The recommendation should be for the township board to take actions to implement the next steps identified above and address the items above that can be done better and more efficiently. Add accountability for making sure the residents know the services available while also responding to requests for other services. Track the percent utilization of these services and make sure the services are properly funded to match the usage. However, the usage number can only be properly evaluated if the survey reveals that almost all of the residents are aware of the services that are provided. Any other discussion about the survey from the second meeting? And they're going to be the third meeting, which is today, is going to be, the survey is going to be right after, posted on the website. And just raise your hand if you add anything. Okay, then report from each of the 5 groups to last at most 4 minutes. And we can frankly go around. I think Trustee Robinson had, and it was in the packet.
Yeah, thank you. So I echo the guidance or the observation from Claire. It wasn't quite clear how we were going to approach this, right? So we decided that as our group of 3, we would look at we tie it back to what the goals were. So we tried it back to the NIU study, and recognizing that there were going to be 5 groups that are all working on this, there has to be, I suggested that there be a group to consolidate the input from all 5 groups to come back with a report that then the committee can recommend or vote. So we didn't put it in necessarily in the format of what the report requires, but we did focus on the key areas as to what the township has done well, what we've done well, what the inefficiencies were, and what the improvements are. And we tied it to what were some of the budget considerations as well. And so that's what this report really says. It says, okay, if we think one of the main goals is to collaborate with partner organizations, what has township done well? And what are our future opportunities to improve that? So just basically, this is input to the group, the smaller group that's going to put together the final report. So this is what our activity was. Again, I think everything that the township, the board has done, the actions we've taken, really align with what the goals are. We just step back and look at it in terms of, particularly the short-term goals. Collaborate with partner organizations. We talk about what we've done with NIU in terms of the partner study. Establish clear communication, standard operating procedures. A lot of the improvements we've made for governance around the board meeting rules and some of the other activities that take place. And then some suggestions in here on public comments on how they should be handled. Prudent fiscal management. We've talked about some of the changes we've made in the purchasing policy that we've assigned brought in Lauterbach and Almond to be our accounting firm. Established dynamic volunteer program. We felt there's a gap here. I mean, I think our one-on-one, our food pantry director's done a good job. I think there's a gap we identified in maybe in the manual in terms of how we onboard and how we train new folks, and what the opportunities were to maybe have a broader use of volunteers, depending on what the programs are the township's offering. So I think there's areas for improvement there. So really, I don't want to read through each one of these. That we put it together. This is actually quite a truncated version. From a printed point of view, there was a lot more detail under each one of these lines. I would encourage that whatever group is going to, subgroup is going to put together the final report, leverage the information that's here and put it in. Claire, or Joanne, anything else you want to add from
I
you?
do, one of the things that was very important to me on this list was senior services, and we talked about that quite a bit, and it looks like that was truncated a bit, and so I do want to assure that we are still focusing on senior services and what the budget for that program would look like.
Yeah, in terms of, is that an opportunity?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so whoever is going to draft the final report, get the full Excel sheet, not this printer, because it's got a lot of details in here. Claire, I know you had a lot of comments around the format of meetings, public comment, things like that, as well as the volunteer manual. You make sure the onboarding of volunteers is handled efficient and effective. So that's the way we approached it. I don't think it necessarily fits the format that they're looking for, but I think you can glean the points out of here and add them in the final report. And again, I think there's going to be overlap from the input from the other groups as well. So we didn't want to presuppose that we were doing the final report. We wanted to provide input to that person who's doing it. So thanks. I'm trying to think of what I can say for 20 seconds.
No.
I'm done. Thank you.
Anything else from that group? No. Okay. And then who's the next group that wants to go?
Group 2, Jean, Marianne, and I were in the group together. And so when we met, we first discussed if we felt there were any duplication of services in the township, and we discussed that at length during our first meeting. We came to the consensus that we didn't believe that there were any significant duplications, and that maybe our food pantry fills in gaps that other foods banks cannot provide for the residents. So that was the only area identified, but we don't have any concern on duplication of services. And then we did feel our cooperation with the State Department of Human Services and working with the Northern Illinois Food Bank continues to benefit our residents. Though the current partnerships are successful, we want to encourage that, future partnerships be explored potentially. Also, we took a look at the revised and newly created employee handbook, volunteer handbook, and board handbook. And we had some discussion around that, and we did review the volunteer handbook specifically. And we wanted to just make mention, there's some sections of that. I do realize there's a couple versions that were floating around, but the clean version, there's some references in there. We suggest that it be revisited to reference where employee is stated that it's a volunteer, and specifically the section on the termination process would not probably apply to a volunteer in the same manner as an employee. So we would like that to be potentially reviewed so they could be most efficient. And then another area that we discussed at length, we were unaware of any new governmental agreements the township has entered recently over the last 4 or 5 years. And this was largely because we could not find any information posted on the website, and that the intergovernmental agreements that are posted are actually out of date and expired. So we did not have a chance to review the 26-page document, the agreement that was noted in the Decennial Committee draft report that we should review. We weren't able to do that, and so we're hoping that we can get our hands on that to have that reviewed before the final report is made. And then the only thing we wanted to make mention is that for greater transparency, that any intergovernmental agreement in effect should be posted for public viewing. And I think Marianne had another thing to add, and then Jean, I know you only have a second too.
No, go ahead. No, I was, I had gone through the volunteer and employee handbook, and there were some discrepancies throughout the handbook, where it should be clearly identified that one is a volunteer handbook and one is an employee handbook. If you actually read it, the volunteer handbook does say employee in many areas. And that concerned me. And then there was, I just wanted to suggest more outreach on behalf of the board. There are a number of ways we could do outreach a little bit more creatively. I know you've done a good job with the copies in the morning. But I think I don't want to use the word aggressive, but that might be what it is. Maybe a stronger, more aggressive approach. I'll use, I don't think it was your example, but may have been. Yeah.
Go finish.
No,
We get the
well,
playoff
I
basic.
wanted to say that John talked about your buy-in for work on the building.
Yeah.
I really do think that should be an effort by the board to go out to the community and build such efforts with many of the initiatives that we could do. And that takes a lot of personal energy. So that's what I have to add.
Thank you.
Outside of what.
Nope,
I
public
talk
speaking
too
is not
much.
my thing. I'm perfectly happy to sit here quietly.
You don't want to play the music.
Yeah, come on.
Just take your Academy Award and get off the stage.
Yes, I'm just gonna go ahead and drink some water, move on.
Okay, and the next group that would like to go? 3,
We
okay, 4,
Autumn's. I don't know, what number are we?
We're fine.
Oh, we're fine, sorry.
It's number
24.
for 1.
Oh, I forgot.
Christie's group.
Christie.
Who else is on the group with Christy?
I am,
Anyone here?
I am, but I have not, I've been traveling both times that the limited meetings took place, so I don't feel I have to be standing.
Did she give us any? Anybody else on that? Who else is on that committee?
So
The word is Christie, Robert, and Sandra Cummings.
Sam was on the road, I think back.
Yeah, she's on my back.
They should have designated.
okay, so we have some extra time then, and then 5.
Jim, Jerry, and Bob.
I'm happy, if you want me to read it, Jim, you got this.
Okay, no, I didn't know if you wanted to go or what, but a lot of what we talked about was discussed during the comments in the survey. We looked at, answering the questions, what have we done well, inefficiencies, and what can we do more efficiently? And most of ours focused on operations and administration, as far as tracking employees' time, manual processing of different administrative functions that could be automated, inventory management of the food pantry items, some cost savings and some administrative functions that essentially are somewhat outsourced, such as redacting documents. That doesn't happen that often, but it's something, there's an expense because the attorney does it. That's something that the staff can do. And then related to, other areas, a big component of what we talked about was more outreach to the community about the services that are offered. So there's a lot of people that probably don't realize the extent of the services the township offers. So we talked a lot about what can we do to provide more outreach, get the word out to the community. We talked about adding business hours for the food pantry, do more to train staff. There's a township services booklet, which we talked about, that needs to be updated. And then we also talked about evaluating overlaps, which was discussed by others, overlaps in services and gaps in services in relation to other agencies, like schools, other nonprofit organizations, the park district, or the municipalities that provide services, identify where the gaps are that either we could fill or in conjunction with these other agencies, work together to fill those gaps. And if there's overlaps, identify what those are, and maybe they can be consolidated or cut back to produce more efficiencies. See here. Yeah, so that was primarily it. you know, administration, operation, and then outreach.
Can I just add to that really
Yeah.
quick? And specifically when it came to senior programs, because there is so much talk over and over again about senior programs. And, you know, the study showed us that we weren't meeting the needs of the community. So sometimes people don't know what they need until they're presented with it, right? But there are so many wonderful programs, our Lisle Park District, for example, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not super familiar with the other park districts, but I did do some calling around as far as other services for seniors in the surrounding townships. And I can tell you that we're doing very, very well. So it's exciting and also frustrating to hear when we're not doing well, but we really comparatively, we're doing some really great things. Our transportation program being one of them. But I wanted to make sure that it was really clear that we know that there are, we don't collaborate enough. We operate in very much in a silo. And I think if we were collaborating more, I think we would find that there are so many other resources that we could be directing our community members to. And there's some really great ways that we can leverage what other people are doing instead of reinventing a wheel and bearing the cost of that for our taxpayers, because we want to still be fiscally prudent. We should be leveraging that. And so I think one of the things we talked about even a year ago, maybe a year before that, is where is the actual gap in services so that we can address it. We still have not done that. So that's something we really need to get better at. So I just wanted to express that. Thank you. Thank you, Jen.
Yeah, I address that.
So one at a time
Okay.
and thank you. Okay then, and the last one is David Rooney and myself. Briefly, we'll start with David, if you have any.
Yeah, the big thing, like everyone says, outreach. It's just making sure the community knows what is available to them. That seems to be a pretty big gap right now. I think that is kind of paramount to understanding what's even needed, right? If they don't even know what's available, then how do we go from there? So getting that information, I think, is maybe top priority. And then as we get more data, we can make more informed decisions. The other thing was there's a lot of processes and a lot of things like that. There's certain business standards where you have processes and internal audits and stuff of that nature, and just kind of making sure that the process is then you look at it and make sure, hey, can we follow this for each one, and just kind of keeping track of what the process is that has to have measurables, and then are we checking upon them?
Thank you. One of the best resources that originally is way better than any of the manuals that we originally created with the yellow, essentially the updated Yellow Brick Road book, has been DuPage County's 2-in-1. Highly recommend it. No need to really redesign the wheel, obviously. And so when you, I'm going to share my screen on this one. And so how it works is you put in the need and it can show duplication of services or not, but you put in, you know, whatever you're looking for, the topic that you're looking for, you put in your zip code and it gives the options for help in that particular area. So something that keeps updating and is more, frankly, friendly for digital use is extremely helpful. It's a wonderful service that DuPage County and United Way, together with all of these collaborating organizations, keeps updated. So that's one of the best ways to figure out what is here, and it's better than a paper version that, you know, goes out of print, and it's updatable on your phone. So highly recommend it. We put it on our website. Definitely our website needs to be updated. One of the things is that the intergovernmental agreements were put into contracts, and they can be put into intergovernmental agreements. So they're really in both places. And I'm not sure if you all got a chance to see the clean version of the volunteer handbook, but almost all of those places where there was an employee in there, the employee was taken out and the volunteer was put in. With the new volunteer software that we're working on implementing. It will be much easier for people to be onboarded. There's going to be videos. At least for the food pantry, that's the main place where we've had volunteers. And so it'll be really seamless, the onboarding process and whatnot. So excited about that. And with the new accounting software, I think that our ability to be transparent and to see more of what we're looking for, not just the day before we're getting and needing to sign things, but farther in advance. So that's what's going on with that. And okay, then discussion and action. So we need to get to a closed result decennial project. And I realized that not anybody really enjoyed the start of the report, but we need to get the report to a conclusion so that we can turn it into the county and make sure we fulfill this commitment. And it's definitely, I think, a really great idea. So Trustee Robinson's idea of having 3 people come together and summarize the group's findings, understanding that apparently the document wasn't one of the most enjoyed ways to give findings. There was a spreadsheet, there was a survey and a variety of other documents that need to be brought together. So does anybody want to make a motion to vote on the 3 groups on the people that would include the group of 3?
Do you want us to nominate in the motion or?
That would be how that would go.
I'll make a motion to nominate myself as senior trustee and supervisor pro tem. And maybe the township administrator and another, well, I think it should probably be two, can it be 2 board members and 1 community member?
It can be any of the 15 people.
Not just. I would make a motion for, how about Marian Vasquez? And so myself, Marian Vasquez, and Trustee Robinson.
Thank
That's
you
2 board members.
Thank you for that. I'm actually gonna be traveling, heading out of the country.
Oh, okay.
I would,
So then.
I talked to
add
Claire.
it?
Well, I was thinking Claire. Claire's been a big part of putting this together. So that, but she's got some good input.
Okay.
So then we have a motion.
You want me to say it
Is there a
again?
second?
So we could, yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the following individuals to deliver the presentation. Myself, Autumn Geist, Claire Goldenberg, and Marian Vasquez.
I'll second.
Thank you, Trustee Geist and Trustee Page. And so
Point of clarification. What if someone wanted to put forward a different, I don't know what the procedure is gonna be is why I'm
Make
asking.
another one.
so there's going to be a roll call vote right after this, after discussion. And if the motion fails, then there could be another motion with a
Okay.
different group. And understanding that when it comes to being delivered, it means being summarized and basically being put into a final draft so that we can go to the next decennial meeting and come to an agreement wherein there would be a vote as to agreement. So it's being worked on by this group of 3, understanding that there's likely to be people that have more to say. And they'll take what people are in the groups are saying and take that into account. So right now we have the first from Trustee Geist and the second from Trustee Page. Any other discussion? And a roll call vote. Understanding that Robert Sachs came in a little bit later.
Okay, Supervisor Hewitt?
No.
Okay, someone needs to count that. Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Trustee Page?
Yes.
Trustee Geist?
Yes.
Okay, David Rooney?
No.
Claire Goldenberg?
No.
Joanne Wright?
No.
Heather Kissnack?
No.
Jerry Galloway?
No.
Mary Ann Vasquez,
I just.
Robert Sachs.
Okay, the motion fails and Jim,
Why wouldn't you have? a-
Abstain.
Oh, I apologize. I apologize, you're on the.
There's much you don't know.
okay,
I'd like to make a motion.
so the motion fails and then, Mr. Galloway,
They have been.
I would like to nominate, Claire Goldenberg, because she's meticulous, and really thorough in what she does it well. Mary Ann Vasquez, and I also like to nominate Joanne Wright. Joanne Wright brings a little different perspective than everybody else, because she's a psychologist and, she has other experiences through the school district and through the, 708. So I'd like to nominate those.
I can't read that all.
okay, that was one motion, that Claire, Marianne, and Joanne would be on this committee. Is there a second from Mr. Galloway, second from Mr. Sachs? And then we're in discussion right now.
My concern is Claire and Joanne were both in one group,
Right.
so.
I tried to break it up,
Right.
but, okay.
That would be my concern, so, in terms of discussion.
And
Okay,
there should be a board member who's on.
that's you guys.
There
Or a
should be
staff
board-
member.
Board-
If it's not a
yeah.
board member, then it should be a staff member.
Okay, so
Because we've been.
again,
here
we're
every meeting.
at Claire, Marianne, and Joanne. Is there any other discussion? Okay, and then we'll take a roll call vote.
Supervisor Hewitt.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson.
No,
I apologize.
That's not gonna matter, it's already gonna be polluted funds, so it doesn't.
I know, but I'll come anyway. Trustee Page.
No.
Trustee Geis.
No.
Township Administrator Marino.
No.
Mouthful. Joanne Wright.
No.
I'm going wrong, sorry. David Rooney.
No.
Claire Goldenberg.
Yes.
Heather Casbah. Jerry Galloway. Mary Ann Vasquez.
Yes.
Robert Sachs.
Yes.
Motion
So-
fails.
Yeah.
Okay, then does anybody else need to make a motion, wish to make a motion?
Yes, I will make a motion to create a committee for the decennial final committee to create a report for the township board consisting of Jim Marino, Joanne Wright, and Claire Goldenberg.
Okay, is there a second?
We pay for Jim.
Second with Robert Sachs. Okay, then any other discussion?
May I ask how many people that you hand selected for the decennial committee are running on the next slate for the 2024 election?
You can't talk about that.
Can't?
No, that's political.
Okay.
Priscilla.
Okay.
Priscilla.
I was wondering who that was.
Sorry about that, guys.
It's okay, it's okay, the question is still raised.
Thank you. Okay, so we're at discussion.
Just eliminated the boards.
Okay, then a roll call vote, please.
Okay, Supervisor Hewitt.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson.
No,
Trustee Page.
No.
Trustee Geis.
No.
Township Administrator Marino.
Abstain.
And then David Rooney.
No.
Claire Goldenberg.
Yes.
Joanne Wright.
Yeah.
Heather Casma.
No.
Jerry Galloway.
No,
Mary Ann Vasquez.
Yes.
Robert Sachs.
Okay, the motion fails. Um,
I suggest another approach. Who wants to do this?
Yeah, that's a good, actually, that's a very good,
Put your hand up.
put your hand up.
Yeah.
You need three, so you need somebody, at least one from each group.
I think so.
Yeah,
And I
why
agree.
can't, and why does it have to be three? Why can't it be one from each group? Why can't each group designate someone from their group to represent? Can we make a motion to do that?
that's again violates OMA, so we're gonna,
to be three to stay within.
so it cannot be more than three.
So we don't.
Then we post the meeting.
Can I make another motion?
Post the meeting, who cares?
Jerry,
Okay, I'll move. We have Claire Goldenberg, Marianne Vasquez, and Jerry Marino.
But didn't we have that one? Didn't we have that one?
we already had that one.
No, I'm trying to get.
We never had that one.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it. Let's get the vote.
Okay, there's a second by trustee Robinson. Any other discussion? Okay, and a roll call vote?
My question one more time is it was for Claire Goldenberg, Jim Marino. And who was the
Marianne
third?
Vasquez.
Marianne. Okay. Okay, Supervisor Hewitt,
Yes.
trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Trustee Page?
Yes.
Trustee Dice?
No.
Township Administrator Reno?
Yes.
Then I have David Rooney,
No.
Claire Goldenberg,
Yes.
Joanne Wright,
Yeah.
Heather Casmark,
Yes.
Jerry Galloway,
Yes.
Marianne Vasquez,
Yes.
Robert Sachs.
Yes.
10-2.
Motion passes. So it's gonna be Claire, Marianne, and Jim Marino that are on that committee. Is there a time frame of which you would like to have all of the reports given so you can work on summarizing and moving towards the final form?
I'm jealous. I love both.
Okay,
As soon as we can get.
so are you gonna, is 48 hours okay?
Oh, yeah.
Because I think, okay, so,
Monday, it's fine.
okay, Marianne,
Are there going to be any updated intergovernmental agreements in that time negotiated?
no, but they can be put, the ones that we do have are on the website in a
Yeah,
different
so-
spot. So we can put them in a single spot so that they're not just right now they're under contracts that we currently have. So they can be put in the right spot and make sure that if we can find any by Friday, that we'll do our due diligence to make sure that they're found and put on the website. Then the discussion and action about is that all for discussion?
Well, when is the report due? Is there a due date on this?
November 10th. It has to be done and turned into the county by November 10th. And there's a portal that it goes into on the website from DuPage County.
So the three of us on this group just need to pick a day that we can all.
Definitely. Well, you would want to meet and then, yeah, you can work offline and figure out so that in some drafts, put through to everyone, so that we can get to a resolution. So that at the next meeting, and is the next meeting, is it okay to make the next meeting right before the next board meeting, like an hour before the next board meeting? So we have September.
That's weird.
September 11th. So 5:30.
September 11th, 5:30.
Does that work for everyone? Do you want to do 5 o'clock or 5:30?
No, I just want to make sure it's not a high.
All right. I think it should make it 5:30.
5:30?
That should be.
Okay. Does anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
Second it.
First by, Mr. Galloway, second by Marianne Vasquez, all in favor of adjourning.
Aye.
The second decennial, third decennial. Thank you.
Thank you all for serving.